India's digital leap is actually inspired by two sets of trends. On the one hand, you've had a set of government policies that have created the incentives for people to get online, get themselves registered in the digital ID scheme, open up online banking accounts, and actually become beneficiaries of direct benefit transfers, which are transferred to them by the government. So this is of huge value to citizens, and it's been one of the big incentives why more Indians have gotten online. The second big trend is the sheer fact that the cost of getting online is actually crashing and has crashed in the last 4 years. The cost of a data plan has gone down from something like 10% of monthly per capita income down to the level of 0.1% now, which means that it is affordable to every segment of India. And companies are actually investing to push out and build that infrastructure, not just in urban areas, but in semi-urban areas, small towns, rural India. And as a result, you have now 350 million smartphone users who are online, and that number is actually growing very fast. And their average consumption of data is amongst the highest in the world today. The digital economy today accounts for about 7% of India's GDP, and most of this is in the traditional IT-enabled services, telecom, and some electronics manufacturing. We think, just given the range of different innovations that we're seeing in digital areas across the whole economy, we think this could be as high as 20% of the economy by 2025. And we think that it's a whole range of newly digitizing sectors which are going to drive a major portion of this value. Within the financial services sector, we would see a real explosion in data-driven and flow-based lending products, insurance products. But it's not just financial services. We would see similar innovation and value capture in the agricultural sector, driving higher rates of agricultural productivity. In the logistics sector, we would see average logistic cost for the economy actually crashing as more digital marketplaces are created that can bring buyers and sellers together and reap efficiencies. So it's really across many sectors that one doesn't think about as traditionally digital sectors, but there's going to be a lot of value capture there. We see that technology fundamentally transforms work, which means that 40 to 45 million Indians are going to need retraining and redeployment as digital technologies come into their workspace. But equally, there will be 60 to 65 million new job opportunities, which are either directly created by the digital economy or indirectly so. And again, this cuts across skill gaps. At the high end of the skill spectrum, you will see jobs like designers, coders, app developers, and so on. But down the skills pyramid, you will see a lot of middle and lower skill jobs, which are essentially workers learning how to use technology to deliver new kinds of services to consumers. One good example is as e-commerce, ride-hailing, or food delivery apps, just as 3 examples. As these proliferate, this is actually creating many, many thousands of jobs in these areas of delivery executives or cab drivers and so on. And these are digitally enabled jobs because these workers are going to need to understand how to navigate apps. They're going to learn how to operate in a digitally enabled value chain, receive payments digitally. So it's a more organized and professional work environment that these workers are going to find themselves in. And therefore, this is actually a net positive for India's workforce, which is actually highly fragmented and highly informal. Digital adoption in India is sort of being driven very rapidly by a set of enabling government policies and also the readiness of consumers to adopt digital technologies because it makes life better for them. The biggest barrier is probably the ability of businesses on the supply side to innovate and adapt fast enough to meet these needs. And we are seeing through a survey that we ran of Indian businesses, both large and small, that there are digital leaders and digital laggards among these businesses. There are businesses that are innovating very fast and actually spreading digital technologies right through their organization. But equally, there are those who are grappling and are being left behind. So I think the consumer is ready, but are businesses moving fast enough to meet that need would be the question I would ask. What is interesting in India is that a lot of the large incumbent companies who are leaders in their respective sectors are starting to drive a lot of digital innovation. We see this in banking, we're seeing this in the construction sector, we're seeing this in the manufacturing sector. I think the biggest and most important thing that such players can do is to drive digital efficiencies and capabilities right through their value chains, which makes suppliers, vendors, small retailers who are associated with these larger companies also then more capable of using digital technologies, and also it creates an incentive for them to learn how to do so. So I think the broader effect of raising standards, raising capabilities, not just of their own organizations, but in the value chain more broadly, is what the leading private sector companies should really be doing in India. I think digital technologies in India are going to be the most powerful tool for empowering the common individual, whether as a consumer of services or as a beneficiary of government services and government receipts of various kinds, as a micro enterprise. In the absence of digital technologies, there is less transparency. There's actually more discretion in the hands of those who have power to prevent the individual from actually being able to participate. We will see a lot of these walls actually coming down as technology-enabled services permeate through most of India. So we will definitely see that. We will also see more disruption. There will be losers and winners as this process unfolds. So there's going to be a period of massive transition. We might find very new kinds of jobs coming up as a result, which we couldn't even envisage today.